I don't know what was hard about getting that sentence out. That seems remarkably rehearsed. It almost just seems like she forgot a line. Nothing in her eyes there makes you believe it. She's telling the truth. But beyond the eyes, just the actions, right? You can judge people by their actions, Erica. If she truly wanted more transparency, she could provide it, because you don't need it in a courtroom. We actually do not need to turn to the courts to have the public understand what happened on that day, because before the courts even got involved, the first people that had access to exactly what happened in 4K, as Tyler Boyer said, was Turning Point USA. They seized the cameras. They could have said, here, I'm also going to have some private investigators take a look at everything and tell them what they think. I was one of the people that called and personally requested to view the tapes. I said, we don't have to release them. I just want to see the tapes. And they were immediately cagey. They've been cagey about information. They've been changing information for saying, oh, I didn't realize that we lied about this or we lied about that. So making this public plea to the courts, I don't know. I think that it stands in stark contrast to the actions that are available to Erica Kirk as the CEO and chairman of this massive organization. But exactly how massive? Anyway, I wanted to write this open letter to Erica because I know that Turning Point USA watches every episode of this podcast, and that people then take what I say back to her and they give her notation. So I would appreciate it if the elves at Turning Point USA just let her see this in its entirety. Here we go. Because more information has become available to me, I am feeling, well, I'm feeling some type of way. Here we go. Ready? Dear Erica, I thought it best to do this publicly. I think public conversations keep everybody honest. And there are some things that certainly need to be clarified, because sometimes the gap between the truth and the lie is what happens behind closed doors. You and Charlie began dating in earnest in 2019, and in retrospect, it was accompanied by a season of a lot of change. For one, I was getting married and virtually, therefore, joined at the hip with my fiance. He was sort of a new third wheel at all of our events. A few months later, on May 1st, the public was informed that I was resigning from my position as the communications director of Turning Point USA. Now, there has been a lot of public speculation as to what led to that decision. The media ran with it was anti-Semitism or some disagreement about Kanye West, but that wasn't true. None of that was true. The truth, and I think that you very well know what the truth is, because you were around for it, is that Charlie and I had a disagreement which fractured my trust in him. He did something that he had never done before. He lied to my face about money. Now, in retrospect, I believe that the manner in which I discovered the lie might have been by design, but there's no need for us to delve into conspiracy when the facts are plenty enough. Charlie had taken a meeting down in Florida with Ike Perlmutter at Mar-a-Lago. It was a fundraising meeting. For whatever reason, he did not want me to know about this meeting, and that was strange. It was meant to be kept a secret. It was strange because we had always collaborated on and taken those sorts of meetings together. Anyway, I found out about it, and I decided to ask him casually as we were riding up an elevator at the Trump Hotel in D.C. I said to him, have you heard from Ike recently? And he looked me right in the face just as he was getting off on his floor. And he said, no, I haven't. I haven't heard from him in like 2 weeks. And I then said back to him, really, Charlie, because you had lunch with him yesterday at Mar-a-Lago. And I saw his stomach drop. His entire face looked, as if he was going down a roller coaster. He stuck his arm back in the elevator really quickly and tried to explain it away. He then pivoted toward an apology, but obviously the damage was done. And if I'm being honest, I was as hurt as I was shocked and confused by it, because we were close. We did go back down to the lobby. We sat at a table and we talked. I don't even remember whether or not I was angry. I probably was. That does tend to be my choice emotion. But deep down, there was a part of me that knew that it was coming because of a lot of the new hires that were coming into Turning Point USA post-Kanye tweet. Charlie had new people in his ear that were hijacking his ambition, making him believe that money was the truest measure of success. Charlie was a brilliant fundraiser. Everybody knows that, but he was also young. He was naive to what the wrong money could invite into his life. And I warned him. I warned him in that restaurant. I warned him specifically about Stacey Sheridan. Everything about her made my skin crawl. And I suspected she and Tyler had something to do with it. I also warned him about Schaefer Security and Dan Flood. You can check the text messages because you have them. And now I am left wondering, obviously, if Charlie had heeded my advice, if he would still be alive. I've also come to another realization that I missed at that time. Maybe the newest and the biggest influence in his ear. Who was that, obviously? It was you. You were the newest and biggest influence in Charlie's life. You kind of all arrived at the same time. And you too, Erica, you lied to my face as we sat down in that hotel and we spoke for 4 hours. But I want to be clear, it was different. You see, with Charlie, I could forgive him. We were always like brother and sister. We went on tours thereafter. But you didn't do it when you lied. You didn't do it out of naivety. You didn't do it because you were young and being pulled into the wrong direction by bad faith actors. Andrew Colvett was never going rogue. You knew that. Every single evil thing that was done to me was done with your blessing. And I consider the onslaught of attacks that I had to endure, they were evil. Because you knew I was telling the truth, and you authorized people with an incredible amount of money to attack one of the few people in politics who was actually grieving your husband. You knew we had a deep friendship. You knew I was telling the truth about the Catholic thing, about everything. You allowed these people to lie and to say that Charlie and I hadn't spoken since 2019. I mean, it's crazy how much of a lie that was. You authorized it, and I now know that. The question is why? It was so cruel. It was so mean, right? Why impart that on someone who you know, within a sea of snakes, actually cared about Charlie and didn't want anything out of the organization? Maybe it's because I was like a loose end, one person that wasn't controlled by an organization. I'd just kind of proven that I'd rather lose everything to say something that I don't believe, least of all for money. I mean, maybe it's also because you have his phone. And when I revealed to the public that he had predicted his own death in remarkable detail, maybe you went back and you read the rest of those messages, the ones that I haven't yet revealed to the public, because in retrospect, those messages they're pretty terrifying because they're precise and it feels prophetic. Charlie was gifted. You know that. I know that. And the government most certainly knew that as well since he was a kid, which is why it was at least very interesting to me that you told the New York Times, something that most people didn't pay attention to, but you told the New York Times the night before his murder, Charlie's, and I'm going to quote this, you said that Charlie's adrenal glands were just going off. He couldn't sleep. I know enough about Charlie to know what that means. That means that Charlie was being bothered. He was probably having visions like he was in 2018, probably a clearer vision than the one that I had that you guys tried to mock, that danger was coming. And I'm going to go ahead and say that it wasn't about a Jezebel article written by some leftist. Please stop saying that because it's not true. I know Charlie, a leftist article didn't upset him in this way. Didn't make him call a priest to pray over him. He thought someone was going to kill him. He did. He expressed that in writing. And you did not lose those text messages. You knew that. Charlie and I spoke a lot about his third eye. That's why that sentence caught my attention in the article. He spoke about the street lamps that would go off when he would run, about the special school that he had to go to. He spoke about a lot of the things that were strange in our childhood, the testing that both of us had to endure. We spoke about the fact that we could both astral project. You know all of this, of course. You have his phone. And how surprised we were when we learned that not everybody does that naturally. Sleep paralysis, you name it. We had conversations about it. And if Charlie's adrenal glands were going off, it was probably maybe for the very same reason that I pulled my kids out of school days before he was murdered, because I sensed danger was coming. And since we are being open, I also want you to know that it struck me as odd when you said in that interview with Jesse Waters that you wanted Charlie to have a good night's sleep. He was so excited. So you sent him to sleep in his daughter's room. You know, it just registers me as a little bit backwards. If I wanted my husband to have a good night's sleep because of something he had the next day, I'd probably let him sleep in the room, and I would sleep in my daughter's room. I flagged that. I also thought what was interesting is that you said the next morning when he snuck in, he grabbed his wedding band. Again, minor detail, but I asked myself, why was his wedding band off? But enough of speculation. Here are the facts. I now have verifiable proof in writing that Justin Strife and you lied to me. You know exactly who Pierre is. Why did Justin Strife say that he had never heard of Pierre? It's crazy. Justin, why would you do that? Justin, you know him. You've met with him. You've personally met with Pierre. Erica, you've met with him in the wake of Charlie's death. I have, again, verifiable proof. So you can call your lawyers. You can spend another $1 billion on PR if you want to. Tell your lawyer to call my lawyer. I mean, you guys certainly have the money to do all of these things. It's not going to wipe away the truth. Okay? The truth is that there was a deal on the table with Pierre, who, yes, is from France, born in France. And that deal was worth billions. Not millions, billions, plural, billions of dollars. Just after Charlie was shot, and again, I have proof, Pierre had a phone call with Justin Strife. He also had a phone call with Mr. Don Orico of Turning Point USA down in Tampa. And you know what's really odd? Somehow this Frenchman, Pierre, he knew that Charlie was dead before the rest of the world did. How did he know that? How did he know before I knew? Especially because he wasn't yet a donor to Turning Point USA. Why was he given so much priority? Frenchman. I'm interested. I know that after Charlie died, that deal went through. Yeah. I mean, if I'm lying, this would definitely fall within the category of defamation. So, yeah, I'm all in on this one. I'm guessing, by the way, regarding this, Pierre, that this might be the reason that the White House never got back to me regarding the French Foreign Legion being involved with Charlie's assassination. Because, I don't know, there could be a French angle here. Could this be a motive? Could billions of dollars be a motive? I mean, I'll just ask some immediate questions. My question would be, why would a devout Catholic Frenchman be looking to give billions of dollars to an evangelical organization? Is that not weird? Just objectively weird? Gosh, that's a pretty big investment. Just really care about free market capitalism? What's France got to do with college campuses in America, full stop? The answer, Erica, is nothing. Nothing. And one of the things that when I was a kid, and other GATE kids, because we've been speaking about the GATE program, when they put you in these special classes, they test you frequencies, sounds, they made us drink fluoride, all the weird stuff. But one of the things that they're especially interested in is how quickly you can put together puzzles. And I want you to know that I excelled at that. I was really good at putting together puzzles. I gotta tell you, I think the picture is starting to emerge here. I think I was right. My best guess is that it was Pierre Falcone all along. Of Angola Gate, we talked about it on the show. France, Israel, the United States, this time it would be Egypt rather than Angola, all working together. Maybe they were getting the band back together to traffic because, there's been a lot of trafficking that just keeps coming up in this investigation. These countries, these satellite of countries, you trying to pretend with your, what now, billions of dollars, got a PR, we can do all of this. And it was so crazy. Oh, my God. A little joke about the Egyptian planes. What? Nothing to see here. This is my theory. There's a lot to see here because you were lying to cover Bibi Netanyahu's tracks. That's very strange. You were there when Bibi Netanyahu called. Andrew told me that Bibi offered to take Turning Point USA to the next level and that Charlie turned him down in the Hamptons at the dinner that you were a part of, but you don't remember that part. You say he's just calling about a letter that Charlie wrote 5 months earlier. The dinner that you thereafter allowed an army of influencers to claim never actually happened, but you were there. Oh, I was there every step of the way. None of this ever happened. Nobody wanted to address BB calling. Nobody made any statements about that. Full-blown psyop, psychological operation. Truly, everything that you guys did, not only was it cruel, but I think the real motivation was that you just thought you could psychologically break me. That's what this whole thing has been. It's been one big psyop. Very well funded because there's a lot of money on the line. If nothing happened in the Hamptons that was out of the usual, why the panic? Because something did happen. Charlie told Bibi Netanyahu no. Bibi, also, Charlie had declined to have Bibi on his podcast. When Bibi went on a little PR tour, Charlie didn't want to have him on the podcast, according to Andrew. So Charlie seems pretty done with Israel, right? You don't want to have on the prime minister of Israel? But the obvious question here that the media is not interested in, but I certainly am, is in exchange for what, right? In exchange for what was Bibi Netanyahu going to take Turning Point USA to the next level? In exchange for what? And also, how was he planning to get that money into the company? Turning Point was already worth $100 million. Building $100 million annually. What does the next level mean? It sounds like it would have to be billions. Via whom? My guess is Pierre. Erica. I think that there's a reason Pierre knew that Charlie was dead first. I think there's a reason he was a priority. How? Why? I think France and Israel are involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I'm going to put that out there with full confidence. I also now have very strong evidence which suggests that you lied about your whereabouts on the morning of September 10th. Little details have been edited. You said that you were accompanying your mother as she was receiving a treatment. Like I said, I now have something which strongly disputes that narrative. So I'll ask you this question on behalf of the world. What the hell happened on September 10th? Why are you guys struggling to get your story straight? Why did you tell Jesse Waters this?
And you wanted to see Charlie immediately and came up. Take us through that.
We landed in Utah, went straight to the hospital.
Straight to the hospital? Andrew told me that when he deplaned, you guys embraced on the tarmac, and he boohoo cried in your arms because he had so much pent-up anxiety. So just given the planes, which you confirmed to me which plane he was on and which plane you were on, that would mean that you had to wait for Andrew to land for an hour. Waited for an hour. Don't do the thing where you tell me that Andrew went rogue. Don't do that, Erica. You're lying. You would be lying. The question is why? Why did you wait, and how long did you wait? And who was on the Egyptian planes? Who took off to Delaware? Who stayed behind to communicate on that second plane that was transponding for no reason? I think you know what I know, which is that I'm going to find out. This is not going to be a never-ending mystery. This is not going to be the JFK story. I'm going to figure out exactly what happened, and I'm getting very close, against all odds, against billions. You might have the billions, but I have the truth. So that's what I wanted to say to you. We'll be right back. All right, you guys, inflation has been skyrocketing, and it doesn't seem like it will slow down anytime soon. Groceries cost more, gas costs more, and the value of the dollar just doesn't stretch the way that it used to. That's why so many people are turning to gold and silver, assets that have historically held their value during uncertain times. Gold and silver have been performing incredibly well, and they can be a powerful way to diversify your portfolio when the market feels unpredictable. Instead of having everything tied up in paper assets, adding precious metals can help balance and protect what you've worked so hard to build. That's where Goldco comes in. Goldco makes it easy to learn how gold and silver can fit into your overall strategy. They'll even send you a free gold and silver kit so that you can understand your options with zero pressure. And their team, they are real experts, friendly, knowledgeable, and genuinely there to help you every step of the way. So if you're thinking about diversifying your assets, now is the time. Goldco is celebrating America's 250th anniversary with a limited time bonus offer. Get up to 10% free gold or silver plus free storage and a free home, safe with a minimum cash purchase. Go to candacelikesgold.com for details. Again, that's candacelikesgold.com. Also, I remind you guys about the Wellness Company, because you might not be dealing with bad skin as an adult with acne. You could also be dealing with an untreated root cause. It starts small, maybe a little redness, a few bumps, and then it expands. You go through the cycle of doctor appointments and try product after product with no real relief. We know that you're not alone. 25% of adults struggle with acne, and more than 14 million Americans battle rosacea. 1 in 10 people suffer from chronic dermatitis or eczema. These are not just cosmetic issues. They itch, they burn, and they crush your confidence. Store-bought treatments only mask symptoms while ignoring bacteria, mites, and inflammation. And many have harsh chemicals that cause severe side effects. Clear Skin Ivermectin Cream, which is from the Wellness Company, is different. This dermatologist-designed prescription formula targets the root cause safely and gently under the skin. Get Clear Skin Ivermectin Cream and transform your skin back to normal. Visit twc.health/Candace and use code Candace at checkout to save $30 off plus free shipping. That's twc.health/Candace. By the way, I forgot to mention, Erica, if you could do me a favor. Doug DeGroot, that board member that announced you as the CEO, he made it really biblical. Could you send him my regards? I know he was meeting with Mikey the other day. They were discussing how to invest money. It was so weird. Mikey went straight from high school, was just Charlie's intern assistant, and now he's sitting down with board members and discussing how they should invest into restaurants. Just send him my regards, because we're everywhere, and we're watching and we're listening. The whole world is invested in solving this, and so, hi, Doug. Anyway, I wanted to also play for you guys. We had been wondering what was going on behind the scenes at Turning Point USA. We told you about the firings that have been happening, people that were hardly given an excuse as to why they were fired. And I, in particular, told you a story about one young woman who had worked there for, I think, 4 or 5 years and got fired over, or questioned over, an Uber ride. Well, she has now dropped a video, and I'm going to play it, about 5 minutes of this video, so you can listen to her describe what happened to her, because it gives us insight into how this company is running with Charlie gone and with Erica at the helm of it. Take a listen.
My name is Aubrey Leitch, and I am the former public relations manager for Turning Point USA, and I was a part of the recent kind of mass termination group at Turning Point, and was let go about 3 weeks ago. And at the time of my release, I was working for the ATK company, which is spokesman Andrew Colvet's private business that contracts out with the Turning Point kind of ecosystem, so encompassing of Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. I was working directly for him. Prior to that, I did work for Turning Point USA. So I've been with the organization since 2021, September 10th, 2025. Obviously, it was an extremely traumatizing day for everyone. I think pretty much everyone in the world with any amount of sanity was slightly traumatized by what they saw. It was an extremely traumatizing day for me. And I worked nonstop. My phone received hundreds of phone calls on September 10th, thousands of text messages. In December, we obviously had America Fest here in Phoenix, Arizona, and that was nonstop work too. And so really it's just been go, go, go for almost the past 6 months. During the memorial, for example, I literally did not sleep for over 48 hours. Despite all of that, I want to go ahead and fast forward to my termination, which took place about 3 weeks ago. And I was brought into an office to have a discussion just generally about my employment. It was myself, Andrew Colvet, and Marina Muniz, who is the CMO of Turning Point USA, who I used to work for when I was just full-time with Turning Point. They sat me down and told me that there were 2 instances they wanted to talk to me about, one of which is pretty irrelevant to this timeline, so I'm just going to talk about the one, which was an Uber ride. What was told to me was that a Turning Point executive got into an Uber one day, and they randomly just kind of started talking about Turning Point. And the executive asked the driver, what do you think about Turning Point? And the driver proceeded to tell the Turning Point executive, well, it's just really sad. I've heard the organization's really going downhill. There's not really a direction, and nobody likes Erica. And the Turning Point executive proceeded to ask this Uber driver, well, who told you that? And the Uber driver told the Turning Point executive that his daughter was good friends with a girl that worked at Turning Point way back when in high school. They had spoken about Turning Point since Charlie's assassination, and that, this was told to him by his daughter. And the Turning Point executive, of course, asked, well, what's the employee's name? And the Uber driver allegedly said, Aubrey who? Aubrey Leitch. And the story was presented to me as one of the reasons for my termination. Turning Point has not insinuated this. They never told me anything like this. However, I just have a gut feeling that I was terminated from Turning Point because I am questioning the narrative of what happened to my role model and CEO, Charlie Kirk, on the day of his assassination. It is from my own experience that you can't question the narrative and work at Turning Point. That is how I feel. That is how other people I've talked to feel. It goes against everything that Charlie ever stood for. I'm going to take action. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to talk to other people. And I refuse to apologize for having my own freedom of thought, which is something that Charlie ingrained in me and so many other young people.
First and foremost, just want to say, the idea of being brought into an office and questioned by your boss about something an Uber driver said, what is this, Gossip Girl? I mean, what CW show are we watching here where you get pulled in and asked a question about what you said to an Uber driver? Maybe. I mean, maybe she said it, maybe she didn't say it, but isn't it kind of your right to go home and talk trash about work? Isn't that kind of what everybody does when they leave? I assume. I know I'm lovely, but I'm sure that people in the control room go and they vent about work in general because that's a normal thing to do. The idea of a CMO asking questions to an Uber driver is bonkers. Okay, these are loyalty tests, and these people are completely and utterly deranged. Secondly, I want to say this. Even if every employee was terrible, like actually deserved to be fired from their job, I would probably, after pulling in $250 million, say, we got to hold for a year, because they just literally watched Charlie Kirk be assassinated. There's like a degree of respectability there, like a grieving period for a year. We're going to make sure there's no other transitions in your life and keep things solid. No, they just were like, peace out. And I think she's right. I think in the end there, when she says that this was actually motivated by them going after people who they suspected were not loyal to Erica, or people that didn't seem to fully buy what happened on September 10th, which, by the way, is everyone. They're going to just have to get rid of everyone, and I think eventually they will, and start anew. The entire world, I don't even know who they're going to bring in their place. I see they're advertising now. No one is buying what the feds are selling. No one is buying what Erica is selling. Nobody is buying what any person is trying to sell to us about what took place on September 10th. Okay? So I don't see what direction they're heading into. I have no idea what that organization is going to become. But I'm getting closer. I'm getting real close to understanding what happened. I think just going through the questions, the who, the what, the when, the where, the why. I think lying about knowing Pierre, Justin, Strife, that signals to me that there's a fear. Why didn't you want us to know about Pierre? Because if he was just somebody who was going to give billions of dollars, you just be like, oh yeah, I spoke to him. Like, I've been in communication. He just happened to call me at that time. If I may issue you guys a report card, far be it from me to do this, this is where you guys messed up. Stupid lies, not behaving in the way. Forget everybody grieves differently. Nobody grieves in the manner of allowing people who were actually enemies of your husband to open up AmFest. Like that, if I'm being honest, the first moment that I went, oh, something is very wrong, was when Ben became the defender of Charlie Kirk. I mean, I just knew too much. It's like, whoa. Why is Ben pressing Megyn Kelly, pretending that he cares about Charlie Kirk? This is bizarre. This is literally upside down land. That's when I said, okay, Israel's involved, because every time you see Ben, you just assume Israel's involved. He's also, by the way, randomly doing things about Korea right now, breaking down what's going on in Korea. There's also this Korean angle that's not making sense. You fumbled the ball there. If I was running the game, I'd say, hey, let's pretend we're only going to allow Charlie's friends around because we're actually grieving. This is where the PR went sideways. It just seemed like a pay to play is what AmFest looked like, and it looked like people that were paying Israel, right? It seems like Israel was paying. Maybe I would have also waited to drop the Shabbat Shalom book, maybe while people in the air were going, I feel like he maybe did it because he's saying he didn't, and it's kind of weird to feel like you have to say you didn't. I would have said, maybe let's roll the book out Q1 2026, and maybe let's not do it with Barry Weiss. I feel like that's not like Charlie's buddy. But you guys didn't do that. You kind of went right in there. So it seemed, I think you guys fumbled a bit there. Silly lies, lies that didn't really make sense. And I don't know, thinking that we were going to accept that Laura Loomer and Ben Shapiro were now the friends of Charlie Kirk, and the people that were actually his friends were his enemies, attacking Tucker Carlson, demanding he get canceled, me attacking me nonstop. You fumbled. I think you fumbled in the performance. I am not sold on it, and with what I know and what I'm getting close to, I don't think there will be a person in the world that's sold on it. So, other than the people you bought and purchased, who are going to become very obvious in the coming weeks, is what I will say. Anyway, I saw that Tim Dillon wrapped his show where he was lamenting how it's all just so fake. Everything is so fake, and that is how it has felt from start to finish here. Everything that it feels like, as he says, we are just kind of watching a really bad reality show, and you're wondering when they're going to stop, when they're going to admit that they lied about everything, but they just kind of keep going. Here's what Tim Dillon had to say.
The tech people that were very liberal are now very right-wing, and they'll be very liberal, and they don't care. They don't care. And then the people that came to power criticizing free speech, criticizing the lack of free speech on social media are now shutting down free speech on social media. So it's obvious that a lot of this is fake. And it's performative. It's a show. It's a reality show. I mean, it's not necessarily the funniest episode we've done, but it is the truth. It is what's happening. It is what's happening. And in this time, you can really only trust one person. There's one person that I trust in this time. There's only one person I trust, and it's Erica Kirk. Good night.
The comedians. I trust that Erica Kirk, with the $250 million a Turning Point earned off of the back of their employees who are working 20-hour days and a sympathetic public. Well, sadly, those employees that were fired, not even given an excuse, at least Aubrey got an excuse, some of them got nothing, as we showed you, are now starting a GoFundMe because they didn't get anything. They didn't get a bonus. They got nothing. And they have put this up on GoFundMe, the Purge Fallout Fund. I believe this is supporting 8 employees. And so I wanted to promote this. And I'm hopeful that Erica can donate to it, maybe. I mean, could they get $100 for the 20-hour days? $100 so they can get a grieving counselor, maybe buy himself a dog to pet. I think that would be great if Turning Point USA. I can't believe that they raised $250 million and these people are on GoFundMe. It's so far beyond the realm of okay. It's just so evil. It's also evil that we're going to have to donate. It's us, everybody. If you got $1 to support these employees who were traumatized in watching their employer die, got 0 days off, then had to work 20-hour days through to the end of the year, through to AmFest, and then got fired without a reason. If you would like to support these employees, and you should, I'm certainly going to, you can head to the Purge Fallout GoFundMe campaign. We will take a brief break, and we'll be right back. All right, you guys, do you owe back taxes, or maybe you've not filed your tax returns or have filed every year, but you still keep owing somehow? Did you maybe retire and suddenly get hit with a tax bill that you didn't expect? Maybe you pulled money from your 401k or IRA early and now the IRS wants its share. However your tax issue started, the outcome is always the same. Your balance is not going down. Penalties are growing, interest compounds, and many of you are about to owe again for this upcoming tax year with no plan in place. Well, stop what you're doing and call Tax Network USA. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, and property seizures. They can even file for you without your consent. This is where Tax Network USA comes in. With over 15 years in the business, there has not been a tax case that they have not seen or resolved. They specialize in tax controversies, and they help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They are offering a free investigation call with the IRS. After that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem and get you back on track. This is about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. To not wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account, call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Candace. Again, that's tnusa.com/Candace. Also remind you guys about American financing, because between groceries, travel, and higher prices, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, especially if you are already relying on credit cards to cover the basics. If that debt is piling up, you should know that you're not alone. And if you're a homeowner, you might have considered reaching out to American Financing, but maybe hesitated because you don't want to give up your low mortgage rate. That's why American Financing created the Smart Equity Loan, a simple, smart way to get your finances back on track without giving up your low mortgage rate. Unlike a HELOC, which can fluctuate with the market, the Smart Equity Loan offers a fixed rate, so you'll have one predictable monthly payment. It lets you use your home's equity to pay off high-interest debt, free up your cash flow, and still keep your existing mortgage intact. There are no upfront fees. To find out if you qualify, call 1-800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210, or visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. Again, that's americanfinancing.net/Owens. Who is Pierre? Who is Pierre from France, who's giving billions to Turning Point USA Catholics? This is on us. He's a Catholic, born in France, living in Tampa area in Florida. Somebody knows something, getting involved, building potentially a shrine down there. Who knows? We're going to figure this out. If you know something, more tips at candaceowens.com. I have so much more for you guys. I have been slow playing this, obviously, because they wanted to pressure me to put everything out instantly, but I'm not an idiot. I need to know every single person at that company who betrayed Charlie. I need to know every single one of them. I need to know the good guys and the bad guys. And anyways, what I have to show you guys next week is just going to completely blow your minds, because I'm beginning to work through how it all worked. And Charlie was completely and utterly infiltrated. Like I said, I know for a fact that $1 billion deal was real. It was not imagined. Erica and Justin Strife know exactly who Pierre is. Justin has met with Pierre. So is Erica. If you'd like to support our independent work, you guys can head to the website. You can go to candaceowens.com. You can buy new kits, gear, new merch, always available. Also, the documentary What a Woman Is available for free on our website until 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, so feel free to watch that. And we also, by the way, we have now a Spanish, a Portuguese, and a French channel. Good thing we have a French channel, because France is very involved. My instincts were correct. And how did I get there? Well, following the Egyptian planes. LOL. Ha 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 ha. Right, Erica? Nobody from Egypt. Yeah. What about Israel? A lot of countries donating, I bet. Ha 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 ha. Top comment from last episode is, can we stop calling them elites, refer to them instead as the deletes? And we should just refer to them as the cult. The cult, the satanic cult. I totally agree with you on that. Let's get some of your comments from today's episode. We have Courtesy, who is writing, I read that. Corey Henry wrote, Candace, I love you. This is the Truman Show. That's why Andrew said, Candace, it was supposed to be you. That was a part, I think, of a very well-planned effort to psychologically traumatize me. They were trying to neutralize me psychologically, like I said, because I was the one loose end. Everybody else is working for some organization, being told they have to say, and I'm just out here saying how I feel and willing to lose money and take those risks because I'm not siding with the side that harms children. I'm just not going to side with pedos. I'm not going to do it. So, yeah, I think that was a part of it. And it was sophisticated, like military level psyop, if I'm being honest, psychological operation to traumatize me and then to have people fighting me before I can even process what happened to Charlie. They're coming after me. They're attacking me. You get all these influencers taking money. I can't believe Candace. And it was just meant to wear me down, but it didn't work because I read the Sigmund Freud books. I know what that looks like. I knew, but it was a psychological operation. And I got through it. And I got through it in large part not because I'm particularly tough, but because I was motivated by true friendship with Charlie. And I had the people. I had you guys telling me to keep going and defending me in the comments when I genuinely felt like I was just so confused. I genuinely was so confused at what was happening, like why they were just going to pretend up was down and down was up, and that I was the enemy when I was actually the friend. And I really do, just from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you guys, because when I was definitely feeling weak, if I didn't look like it, you guys were strong. So I want to say that. The Decentralized Intelligence Agency has brought us to this moment. This was not the work of me. It was the work of everybody. Everybody had a piece of the puzzle, and I just pulled it together on this podcast. Alaska Dog Lady writes, truth wins. Christ is king. They've got money. They always do. They print it. We have truth. And what also I think has happened is Charlie's gone. Charlie was the godly one there. Charlie, like I said yesterday, the deal, when you do a deal with the devil, you no longer have access to the creative force. You have to steal, you have to lie, you have to cheat, but you can't create. You instantly just become stale. And that's what I am sensing and feeling at Turning Point USA. Now you have to rely on lawyers and legal letters. And, yeah, that's what happens, sadly. Mary Everett writes, it's not billions, but I hope that this helps. Do not let these demons get away with it. Thank you so much. And truly, anybody that's giving right now, I'd rather you give to the employees. I mean, what happened to them is so wrong. I can't believe we're saying it. Like I said, this feels crazy. We're in like crazy town right now. I'm asking you to give to employees that worked for an organization that made $250 million in a couple of months. This is crazy town. But again, we're the good people, and they deserve something. And by the way, that she didn't mention this in the video, but that young woman, they also then fired her fiance. So their entire income in one house was wiped out in one day. No explanation given to him. You're married to the wrong person? I don't know. U.S. flag poll guy writes, you S's of B's are going to feel the wrath of citizens of this republic. Who the hell do you think you are to come into this sovereign country and unalive Charlie and expect us to watch? Yeah, they wanted us to watch. And then they yelled at us for still talking about it. I mean, it's I laugh because it's like made up evil, where it's like cartoonishly evil, right? It's actually, if you put it in a script and try to sell it in Hollywood, they say, oh, this is just unbelievable. It's just not, we can't actually, no one will actually believe. This is biblical evil, truly biblical evil. Cat Lady for America writes, stay safe, Candace, go Max, the truth will prevail. GN2176 writes, yesterday I heard Candace revisit Charlie's plea, the outcry to others concerning they are going to kill me text. That is hugely important in this case, not only for the defense, but for the prosecution to avoid them. Keep pushing on Charlie's text messages. Yes, I'll say it again. Those messages were sent on iMessage. Unless someone deleted it before they handed it to Erica, it's possible, I'll throw that out there. It's possible, but they were sent on iMessage. I don't think she's not aware, because whether the messages existed or not, obviously, in the course of this investigation, Dan Flood and Andrew Colvett would have told her that. Hey, I got this text message. Amy O writes, you are Charlie's David, Christ is King. Keep going, Max, and stay Max. Thank you, Amy. Cone Film writes, boycott Turning Point USA's halftime show. I forgot they made the announcement about that halftime show. I like some of the performers that are in it. I can't. I'm sorry. Nope. Won't stop liking those individual performers, but I will not be watching Turning Point USA's halftime performance. Kelly writes, I am Catholic, and I've been with you and Charlie since PragerU. Your conversion was in my prayers then, and your safety is in my prayers now. I have no doubt Charlie is in heaven with Our Lady praying for your protection. Christ is King. I thank you so much. I think the prayers have been guiding us. I feel that the path has been lit in certain ways. I get an email at the right time, and then the puzzle is starting to come together, and we are getting very close to a full picture without question. Jonathan Newton writes, in Acts 7:43, Stephen tells the Jews before they killed him that they carried the star of Remphan in the wilderness. That's correct. That's a 6-pointed star. Also in Zechariah 5:11, it says that wickedness will return. That is where Babylon is. I love your show. I agree. And thank you guys. I mean, this has been a journey. Speaking about, I have learned so much, and I think we've all learned so much. I mean, we're talking about Gilgamesh on the show and Nimrod, and we're talking about the Bible and true evil. And I have to think that awakening is one thing good that's come out of this. I think many of us were asleep. Even those of us who feel like we were awake,